Hey there, nerds. Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Locker. And this week we have Chase.
How's it going, everybody?
And we were able to keep Patrick.
For now.
We have him in a dungeon in our basement.
He tried to run. No way. We got him. And, of course, I'm Jimmy.
Right.
So let's get started. We are into October, and we have some updates.
Yeah, so some pretty cool updates are coming in. I mean, basically what we're running into is the entertainment world is feeding us as much as possible with hope. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's 2020 and we need as much as possible. Jimmy will get into some of the downplaying of hope. The exact opposite.
That's what I do.
It's like the downer stuff, but I'm going to start off with some good news. So with some good news, we have Doctor Strange, which is obviously, if you guys remember from way back when, is one of my favorite characters. But Doctor Strange meets SpiderMan 3. It's been announced, according to Hollywood Reporter, that Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange will be stepping into the role that was vacated by Tony Stark as the father figure for Peter Parker. I don't know how I feel about this because, I mean, obviously Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange and Tony Stark are basically the same person, just on opposite sides of the technology spectrum, let's say. They're both egomaniacs, they both are very self-centered, and they both have like a soft spot for, people who need their help, and Peter Parker just happens to be that person. Obviously with the multiverse madness that's coming out and being shot with Doctor Strange 2. That's going to probably play into SpiderMan 3, which has been hinted to include Jamie Foxx, Andrew Garfield, and a host of others from previous Spider-Man incarnations. I don't think this is an accident. I think this is very much like Marvel when it comes to this kind of stuff. They love to build that story arc. They love to build that character arc. And I think what we're getting here is the foundation of the next phase. So with Doctor Strange and with Spider-Man 3, we may be getting the first little peeks into what Marvel has up its sleeve. Both of them are going to start filming in October. I believe Spider-Man starts in Pinewood in Atlanta. I have some friends in Atlanta who are keeping eyes on Pinewood Studios.
Spider-Man starts filming this October?
This October.
Isn't he doing Uncharted right now, or did he finish?
I believe Uncharted is in post right now.
Okay.
And Spider-Man has started. It says here, according to Hollywood Reporter, it's later this month in Atlanta. So okay. I've got friends in Atlanta that I'm hoping will be able to give me some scoop on whether or not if there's any kind of big build outs and stuff like that. They don't work at Pinewood or anything like that, but they kind of like are in that area. The other piece is Doctor Strange 2 is supposed to start filming later on this month as well, but in London. Both most likely in Pinewood Studios for both productions. Don't have anybody on the ground in London, but I am happy that we're going to have Chiwetel Ejiofor is going to make his appearance in Doctor Strange 2. So there will be.
I'm sorry, Patrick. You said his name. I couldn't hear it. What was his name?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
He's very proud of this, folks.
So well, man.
I have to say I'm very proud of that because if you rewind and look in the archives, me and Brandon did a review of Doctor Strange, the first movie, and we could not say this man's name to save our freaking life. I think, in fact, we had Google pronounce it for us, and then we recorded it.
Is that the movie that I first met you at? Was it Doctor Strange?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen with this. I mean, To be completely honest, Sam Raimi going back to directing Spider-Man movies, okay. I mean, if as long as we stay with Spider-Man 2 level of consistency, I'm talking about like, Sony Spider-Man 2 level of consistency. Wait, I have to go back because it's not just Sony, it's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2 consistency, not Andrew Garfield Sony Spider-Man 2. Well, whatever. It's fucking multiverse, so we're gonna get a bunch of different versions. Hopefully, we'll get Sam Raimi with Doc Ock and all that other good stuff.
Have you heard rumors that they're all coming back at some point?
Yeah. There's multiple rumors of various characters throughout. I mean, we all heard about Jamie Foxx coming back as Electro in some capacity. Now, if you want to go ahead and find that meme of Tracy Morgan saying no, that's exactly what went through my head when I heard that he was coming back. But now that we've got this piece of information with Benedict Cumberbatch in the multiverse madness piece, this is starting to make a little more sense, and it should be pretty freaking cool once it's all over and done with. Because if you think about it, we're going to have little splits and splinters of Spider-Man. Maybe we'll get some of that psychedelic feel that we got a taste of in the first Doctor Strange. That all of this is coming about in a way that's going to really screw with the Marvel universe. So I'm interested. What do you guys think?
Well, that was my question. I hope they're still tying in J. Jonah Jameson, because that was quite a shock at the end of Far From Home, and it was like they tied it back to the originals. It's crazy.
I've heard rumors that he already shot his stuff like a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's true, but like I guess he got it out of the way or something. I don't know if
Well,
there's any truth to it.
What's the actor's name again? Sorry, Jim, you probably know.
J.K. Simmons?
J.K. Simmons, sorry.
Yes,
J.K. Simmons, thank you, Chad. So J.K. Simmons is probably the most consistent Spider-Man actor all the way across the board. The reason being is because, one, he's been in all of them. He's always played J. Jonah Jameson. Even in the video game, he is the voice of J. Jonah Jameson in the video game as well. So here's a great thing, a great reference point. My son, who played the Spider-Man video game, we went and watched Spider-Man, I showed him the old Spider-Man movies. He's like, hey, that's the guy from the video game. I'm like, actually, that's J. Jonah Jameson, who's actually in the video game. So I had to make that reference as far as it goes for, like, no, this is the same guy. This is the same cat. And that was, like, awesome. That's the awesome part. He's the most consistent piece in all of the universes. So, if he continues to do what he's doing, more power to him. But I'm interested to see what goes on with this. Like, my biggest thing, and there's a couple of videos out there that talk about Wanda's influence in the multiverse. So could this tie into, WandaVision? Possibly. It's gonna be a wild ride, man. Like, the way Marvel's doing this, I think between Eternals and how they're going to push Eternals to us, there may be something between the Marvel multiverse and the Eternals release that we're not even ready for.
So
cool stuff.
You guys are more familiar.
Trust, so I trust Marvel.
Yeah.
You guys are more familiar with Marvel, so I'm curious to know how you think Black Widow is going to tie into everything. Is it going to be just a sort of a standalone, we like this character, so we think she deserves her own movie? Or is it going to connect into the bigger spectrum of things?
Jim, you want to talk about it, or you want me to take this one?
I personally think it's going to happen before any of the events of Infinity War. Like, that movie is set apart from things that have happened that we've seen in the Marvel Universe, and she's on her own, and she's going back to Russia to sort of deal with her past and the people that she's worked with before she ever met up with anybody in the United States or Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything like that. So I think it's going to be a standalone. I think there's a large period of time where, I mean, I don't know what happens in that movie, but there's a large period of time where if they want to tell another story from that time frame, I think that could work. But I don't think it's going to have a direct timeline into the MCU that we already know. It's going to work out fine, but it's not going to be like, oh, this piece is the whole reason why Infinity War worked or whatever. Just like this story is going to be set outside those things.
So any connection is to movies we've already seen.
I think there may be. Like I agree somewhat with Jim in between, because what we have is a tie with Taskmaster. Remember, Taskmaster is going to be the big bad in this film, and what we have is Black Widow going back to Russia, going to either make amends, make peace, or whatever, see family, whatever the backstory is going to be. But we're going to have Taskmaster, who already has a shield. Remember, so if he has a shield, that means he's fought Cap somebody, right? So there's that tie-in, as well as like the bow and some of his moves that they had in the small clips that we had the fight scenes with, suggest that he's been around for a while. So there may be some more to that. I think honestly, Taskmaster will be one of those types of characters that will slide in and out of various other productions, like say, Falcon and Winter Soldier, because he fits that kind of archetype. But I think that's more of it's more of an introductional piece. So not necessarily like completely standalone, but there could be elements to it that could tie into the Marvel.
So we could see elements from it affect Phase 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So I've given you some good news. Now Jim's going to bring some bad news. Thanks, Jim.
So, and it kind of correlates because we go from Marvel, which Marvel is usually good news, to let's go over to DC and find out what DC's doing. Well, here's what they're doing. They recently announced that The Batman is being pushed back from October 2021 to March 2022. Now, this is kind of COVID related as far as production goes, and we know Pattinson got sick, but it's not related to pushing back because of audience in the theater and all that stuff. So this was a production issue, and most of DC's issues are related to actually just being able to film. I know like Vancouver was having a problem with filming on set simply because they couldn't get tests quick enough turnaround. It was taking 72 hours to get test results, and that obviously is not allowing people to know, hey, who has COVID, who doesn't, so they weren't able to film in Vancouver. I don't, like Patrick alluded to earlier, I don't believe Atlanta had that problem. I think they were more on top of it. So depending where film shoots are happening really dictates whether they can happen right now. The other one was The Flash, which again, we were already looking out at June 2022. That got pushed back to November 2022. Shazam 2, which was supposed to be November 2022, got pushed back to June 2023. And then Dune. This is really the only one that had nothing to do with production. Dune was supposed to come out December 18th, 2020, and that is getting pushed back almost a full year to October 1st, 2021. Luckily, nobody on this podcast cares, so that's okay.
Chase. Sorry.
Sorry, Chase. But it is taking over Batman's old date. And then, oddly, I'm not sure why, but this is the WB versus, obviously, DC. Matrix is going the other way. And they were supposed to come out April 1st, 2022, and they're moving up to December 22nd, 2021. Not exactly sure why, other than it's finished, and I guess they're happy, or they're probably working on post-production, and they're happy with what they've seen so far. And then news that is sort of disheartening, but I don't think necessarily in a way that is not ever going to happen. Black Adam and Minecraft have been taken off the schedule completely. Minecraft, I don't really care about. Black Adam, I really was excited to see what Dwayne Johnson was going to do with that, and I really want to see it. So I'm bummed to hear that it's off the schedule. But given that everything else was pushed back, it's not shocking that it doesn't have a release date, but I'm sure they're going to film when they can because obviously The Rock is huge, super popular. They need to film when they can on his schedule. So that could just be a release problem. It's sort of related is we still have Wonder Woman sitting out there on December 25th, 2020. It hasn't announced it's going to move. I can't fathom. We've talked about this. Yeah, we can't fathom it's going to stay put. And sort of one of the other reasons why the impetus of this is going to change is James Bond, No Time to Die, was moved again. It was supposed to open earlier this year, was moved from November this year to April next year. And sort of with that news, theaters, specifically Regal Cinemas, Cineworld, its parent company, is shutting down all theaters in the US and the UK. And knowing that, I can't fathom a big release movie will open given that a large portion of movie theaters are closed. So we've talked about it. I really can't fathom Wonder Woman is going to keep that date. But along with Wonder Woman, Croods, A New Age, and Coming to America, the sequel, have held steady, and that supposedly they're going to be opening in 2020. So we will see. And the only other big movie that made a change was Disney. Pixar, Disney, Soul. It's still coming out this year, but it's going to go to Disney Plus. And unlike Mulan, it's actually going to go Disney Plus membership. You don't have to get a premium membership or anything.
That's nice.
It's going to release Christmas Day, 2020. So again, like we talked about last week, with movies skipping the theater and going straight to digital, Pixar for the second time this year is going to go straight to digital. Actually, I should take that back. I think Onward did have a very early, brief.
That was one of the last movies I saw in theaters.
Yeah.
And then it went right to digital.
I went to a screening and then
that was it.
Shut down.
Like, I mean, this is what we're faced with. I mean, right now, I think the pushback on Batman. I mean, we'll see. Wonder Woman's been in the can for so long.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that was supposed to come out earlier this year.
Yeah, it was like 2 years, right? We're going on 2 years with Wonder Woman being in the can, and so there was no excuse. I mean, here's the deal. I think honestly, it's somewhat of a mismanagement. You know, if you would have kept everything very consistent and had a plan, you would have been good. You would have been good to go. I think because when it comes to WB Productions, we don't really have a plan. That's a problem. That's an issue. There's inconsistencies, productions, shooting. I mean, look what we talked about. We have 2 multiverse movies coming out. We have The Flash, and we have Doctor Strange. Now, we just found out that Doctor Strange is starting production. Everything's like lining up, right? Flash, what do we hear? We get a couple of snippets of Ben Affleck being Batman and a couple of snippets of this information, that, but no production news.
No. In fact, the last I heard from a production standpoint was the script was fucked up, and they had to really rework it. And this was before Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck were rumored, but the script was just not ready.
And it's piss poor planning.
Did you hear the latest rumor from the Batman set?
What's that?
There's a supposed rumor going around that Robert Pattinson was sent home because he's not in shape for the role.
I believe it. I mean,
well, that's hard because he did have COVID, and I can't say that's exactly what happened, but
true.
From what I've read, and it knocks you on your ass and you can't breathe and all that stuff. So I do want to laugh at that, but at the same time, if he was knocked on his ass and can't work out, it's like, all right, get some foam muscles or something. I don't know.
If it comes down to a COVID thing, sure, I'll give him a pass. Now,
there's someone from a YouTuber named Doom. Okay, wow, that's an interesting name. Doomcock.
Oh no, dude, he's horrible. I've heard a lot of bad things.
It says he has a track record for making wildly unsubstantiated claims.
Yeah.
saying that the real reason that he never actually had COVID, the real reason they stopped production is because he was out of shape.
Out of shape, yeah.
Yeah, that dude, I can't remember the last one that was way off, and it was like, are you kidding me? But like networks jumped on it because he just put it out there. And you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't believe that though,
Give me a
because
break.
he comes off as a very professional person to me. He
Yeah.
I for one would be very determined to get rid of that Twilight shadow. So
Yeah.
they could do.
I'm sure he's working hard to get that off of it, off his back.
Yeah, this is a once in a lifetime. You don't screw around with that.
Oh, Expanse trailer just dropped. So, like breaking news, Expanse trailer just dropped.
Go check it out.
If you guys have not read the books for Expanse, have you? You haven't? Chase, are you in the sci-fi? I mean, look, man, I cannot explain to you how well written these books are. Like, remember, Jim, when you guys used to try to get me to read Game of Thrones when we first started the podcast? Yeah. Like, oh, you got to read it. I'm like, I don't want the fucking fairies and shit. I read it because Kelly, and you guys just badgered me to do it. And I was like, oh my God, these are great. Same thing with Expanse. Just as good.
Wasn't that show canceled and then they brought it back?
It was canceled on SciFi, and they brought it back on Amazon. Amazon picked it up.
Rainbow has been trying to get me to watch the show, and I started watching it, and somebody floating through space, and I just was not in the mood. I'm like, yeah, not gonna happen today, and I just haven't gotten back to it.
No, do the audiobooks. My brother was like, just like you. Nah, man, I'm not reading this. I was like, look, I literally bought him the first book, gave it to him as a present. I was like, just read it. He read the first book, changed. Dude calls me like every time he finishes a fucking book or a chapter. It's that nuts. Now, I will say this. I'll preface this especially to our listeners. The show doesn't have shit on the books. The show is a mild reflection of the actual books themselves. So, just like with Game of Thrones, if you've read the Game of Thrones books, you know that the show is a very, very light version of the books themselves. So, go out, go to audible.com and go free plug for Audible. Fuck it. Go to audible.com. Go download the audio version of the books if you have kids and if you're doing like commuting and stuff like that. It's the perfect book for that stuff. So, FYI, just dropped today.
So, is the show worth checking out, or?
Yeah, the show is totally worth checking out, but it's like the books are just way better. Way better than the show.
There's something about when I hear about a new series that's being dropped on SciFi.
Yeah.
It makes me. I immediately think of Sharknado. Well, it's the same company, It's like.
Well, that's the problem with SciFi. SciFi fucked their branding up so bad because they started off like really, really strong with Battlestar Galactica. That was super strong. That was like a great move. Excellent writing, excellent direction. The production schedule, the production value was high as hell. It was a great show. And they had all these ancillary pieces that went along with it. And then Sharknado happened. And they were like, oh, we can be campy and get more of a viral buzz. Well, us sci-fi fans were just like, what the fuck, dude? You just ruined, like, they knew.
Well, and they also, do you remember Drew Marvick?
Yeah.
They got into reality TV too. Yeah. Drew was on that's what was it, City Paint or something like that, where they were body painting people, and I was like, because I was trying to support him. I'm like, what channel? Sci-Fi. I'm like,
Sci-Fi.
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they got into
that made no sense.
The creature creation show was actually pretty dope, but when they started getting like NBC Universal purchased them, and then that was it. It was a wrap. So, but yeah, Amazon picked it up. Hopefully, we'll see what Expanse does. And Get a little edgy. They got a lot edgier once they went to Amazon, though. I will say that, because now you went off of basic cable, network cable, to a more premium standpoint. So you had to pay for it. You knew what you were getting yourself into.
So this isn't the first season from Amazon?
Oh no. Amazon started with season 4,
Okay.
and season 5 they just wrapped, because actually one of the cast members from the show stole my Uber. So like I was coming out of the CNN building, and what's Frankie's last name? Frankie Jones, I think is his last name. Frankie, who's absolutely gorgeous in person, and I didn't realize how pretty she was. We both ordered an Uber. The Ubers both looked alike, and she jumped in one, and I was like, "Hey, that's mine." And I realized who it was. I was like, "Wait a minute, you're so and so. You can go ahead and take my Uber. Have at it." And then,
how would you like to be that Uber driver?
right?
Not the one that actually she got in, but the other Uber driver's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna go pick up."
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, in all honesty, dude, I don't think anybody outside of a fucking sci-fi nerd would even know who she was.
What's her name again?
What's Frankie's last name? Because like I tweeted, not tweeted it. I hit her up on Instagram, like
Adams?
yeah, Frankie Adams. I hit her up on Instagram.
Oh, she's tall.
Yeah, she's like, I'm a tall dude, so I was like, hey, that's a tall drink of water right there. I'm like all about it. And then
Hello.
she like jumped in and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, did I take your Uber? I was like, I don't know, but I don't really care, because I'm just absolutely enamored right now. And I just let her take it. And then I tweeted out, and then she turned around and hit me back up on Instagram. She's like, sorry about taking your Uber. I'm like, it's cool.
Hey, you got a story out of it?
Yeah, I got a story out of it. It was awesome. And ever since then, I've been a huge fan of hers. But the books themselves, her character, Roberta Draper, one of the baddest female heroines, I will say, out of any book or series that I've read. That's like, she's on Ripley status. Let's put it that way. So, on to the last piece of our podcast. We have Chase, who's going to go into some subjects that I just don't really get into, which is, I know, everybody's going to hate me for this, but I don't really get into scary movies, but Chase does.
I do, and it's October, so it's spooky season. Spooky season.
Yeah,
first, I wanted to talk about, I got a few emails from Amazon, and I was able to watch their sort of quadruple release that they're doing. This week on Tuesday, they released 2 of them called The Lie and Black Box, so I have reviews up for those. The Lie had an interesting concept, but not executed well. Black Box was sort of Total Recall meets a horror movie, which I thought was pretty cool. And then next week they have 2 more coming out. One called Evil Eye and another called Nocturne. Those will be out next Tuesday, so I'll have reviews for those up. And then I wanted to talk about some horror movie recommendations that I have. I want to start out kind of selfishly with my favorite horror movie ever, and that is Hereditary. Have either of you seen that? And Patrick,
No.
Jimmy?
I started it and got bored.
Should have given it a chance. It's fantastic. Anyway,
I'm sorry, man. I tried. I like Toni Collette. I just was like, all right.
Oh, that's one of those. It's one of those movies where it's a kind of a crime that the Oscars ignore horror or genre films, because she would have been nominated for sure. She's so good in that movie. But moving on, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite franchise horror. I'm kind of sticking to more modern era. Maybe I'll talk about classics next week or something. But one of my favorite franchises to kind of binge during the month of October is the Insidious franchise. The third one's not my favorite, but it works well enough. The first two are my favorite. I really like the tie-in, the twist. Certain aspects of the first one are left mysterious, and then those questions are answered in the second film, and they're tied together really well. But yeah, all four of those are really great. I forget her name. The older.
I got a quick
lady.
question for you, Chase.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to talk about next week. Talk about classic horror. What do you categorize classic?
Yeah.
I mean, do I say classic and then insult you by saying it's your era?
That's what I'm getting at.
That's what I'm trying.
What are you going at?
Is that rude?
No, it's not rude. We just want to know how fucking old you think we are.
Well, I consider classics like the first horror movie I ever saw was Halloween.
That's classic.
I remember a neighbor of mine sort of gave me my horror movie education. I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies, so I'd go over to my friend's house in secret and watch all the horror movies. So, I mean, we went through the Halloween franchise, even the fucking third one. Went through
Thank you, everybody. So many people love Season of the Witch, and I'm like, it's not a fucking Halloween movie. It's called Season of the Witch. If Michael Myers is not in it, it's not Halloween.
I've been told if it had been branded differently, maybe it would have worked. But I went in thinking it was going to be a Michael Myers movie, and there's fucking witches and warlocks, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
So bad. I hate that.
And then, we
it's
went
funny you
through
say that, Chase, because my son and I, he's 14, we started going back and watching horror films. My wife absolutely hates horror films, hates them. So you talked about awkward situations in the theater earlier. I didn't realize how bad she hated them. Like, I thought she just was like scared of them. One of our early dates was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake. And I'm sitting there watching it, fucking loving it. And I look over, tears are streaming down her face. Wow. Her hands are over her eyes. And I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? She's like, I really hate horror films. I'm like, well, we can leave. And she goes, no, I got to stay till the end to make sure everything turns out okay. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that shit does not turn out okay in those movies. I'm shocked we got married because I'm shocked she didn't leave me right there because that was bad. Anywho, yeah. So watching these older films with my son, and by older, they're the ones you're referring to. We watched the original Poltergeist, watched the second one. He really wanted to watch Paranormal Activity, so we did that. But we've been watching the Friday the 13th in order. And it's just funny hearing it from a different perspective. Like, I think Friday the 13th is totally campy. I've seen them all. I know them all. He watched the first one. He goes, oh, my gosh, that's really good special effects. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I watched it, like, from that point of view. I'm like, yeah, you're kind of right, dude. Like, Tom Savini, who, like Patrick, had seen War, knew what it was about, and used that in his special effects and made it gross. And you're like, you know what? That first one is pretty good with special effects and just this different eyeballs that he's watching it with and then telling me what he thinks. I'm like, that's interesting.
Anyway, so should I refrain from using the term classics? Is that insulting to
I was just curious
the elders of the room?
Going all the way back to like Universal Monsters, or if you were what I thought you were going to do. And I think Patrick felt the same way you said it. If you were talking about like 80s horror, it's like, shit, we lived with that.
Yeah,
we grew up with that.
Pretty much, but it's all good.
Anyway, speaking of what was originally seen as sort of campy, I saw for the first time one I had never heard of called "In the Mouth of Madness."
Oh my God, Sam Neill was awesome.
That was good.
It kind of reminded me of it when we were talking earlier about Event Horizon because he's in that one too.
You were talking about sort of these under the radar picks. That would have been mine. I love that movie, John Carpenter. So good.
It's fucking dark, man.
Yeah.
But it was good though. So anyway, moving on, again, kind of sticking to more modern era. I wanted to talk about more approachable horror movies for someone who might be interested in horror movies, but never really got into them. For example, my mom hates horror films. I recently showed her the It movie, not the series, but the actual movie, and she actually really enjoyed it. So I feel like it's a more accessible kind of dip your toe in, see if you like it.
That's interesting because Kelly from the old days, Kelly Thompson, she's a huge horror freak, and she absolutely loves both those It movies. So that's funny that it's your mom who doesn't like it likes it, and then Kelly who loves horror movies loves that movie. That's cool.
So anyway, but I mean, everyone's kind of heard of it and seen it, and most people who've seen it, really liked it. The second one was good. It's kind of a mess though. Way too long, way too fucking long. Jesus Christ.
The second one was a bit longer.
Bill Hader was awesome though.
Oh, he was so good. He's such a highlight in that movie.
I think overall that he's completely underrated as an actor because, like, I mean, that was the first time you kind of figured out, like, oh man, this guy can actually act. Was when he did.
It's been
Barry.
Yeah, Barry.
I've seen a couple episodes. He's really good.
Oh, so good.
It's sort of been said that your more comedic actors, they're usually the ones that can do drama. Really well.
Yeah,
like I don't know, for a lot of people that might not know, Tom Hanks was a comedic actor. That's how he started.
We know. We know.
Well, you're not the only ones hopefully listening.
Bosom Buddies, man. Bosom Buddies was the
Bachelor
first time.
Party. I mean, come on.
Well, Bachelor Party was awesome.
So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that Bill Hader would be good. I mean, no, it's no less surprising. But anyway, it's a more obviously mainstream. So I wanted to talk about a movie that maybe not a lot of people know about that I really enjoyed. Sort of a found footage, I guess. It's all handheld camera, called Creep. It's from the Duplass brothers. They did like Room 104 for HBO. They've done quite a few things. I'm sure you're familiar with their work. Maybe not their names, but their work is pretty.
The League.
Yes, The League. He was Pete. Anyway, Creep has a sequel. They're supposedly working on a third one right now, but I highly recommend Creep. I believe it's on Amazon Prime. You have to rent it, but actually it might be on Netflix too. You might want to check that out. They spread these movies out over all these streaming services now. It's hard to keep track.
I know. I have to end up Googling them. Like, where is this? Where is this movie right now? Because I know it's somewhere, but I don't remember which one I saw it on.
It's only happened to me once, but it pissed me off. I was looking for a movie. I found it, I think, on Amazon. You had to rent it. So I rented it. It was only like $3. I watched it, and then I found it like a day later on Netflix.
Oh.
It's like, God damn it. You really have to do your research or you're going to get...
They got you.
Yeah, they got me. But, yeah, that's all I got for horror movie recommendations. Next week, we'll insult the two elderly people by going back in time a little.
That's all good. We don't care. We're old farts, old nerds now.
I say classic with reverence and
reverence
respect.
and love.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll say this, Chase, and Patrick and I would joke about this from the early on. We got our doctorate in nerdery just by growing up in the 80s. They were just being there and doing it. And then you look back and you're like, holy shit, it just blew up then. I didn't realize it. That's just what happened.
Yeah. Well, and also you can remember to check out the website. Chase is doing his horror. Was it Horror Locker? What was it?
That's just the kind of what I was calling my horror themed reviews.
So, like we used to do back in the day, we used to actually do this on a regular basis. Back when we were doing our YouTube show, every October we would do our Horror Locker or horror tributes on the website. So make sure you do check out nerdlocker.com and check out some of Chase's reviews on the site. And so after that, that's pretty much it. We have all we have right now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this podcast. Again, we'll try to do this more regularly, get this on a regular schedule. Make sure you check out nerdlocker.com as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And now that the podcast has been kind of reunited with the original gang, we are also on Stitcher, Google, and iTunes. No longer just on iTunes. Now for Android users like myself, you can find Nerd Locker available to listen to us rant about nerdy things that you either knew about or didn't know about, and watch Chase insult old people all day.
Anyone listening to this, if you made it to the end, once you go find Brandon Zitch's page and congratulate him. By the time you hear, hopefully, the next day, actually, after Jimmy uploads this, he will be getting married, and he will officially be part of your guys' group.
Yep, no longer single. He will be part of the.
Talk about
Yes,
scary
ma'am.
October.
Scary October.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let's see if Brandon can come out and play.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, make sure you check out Brandon's page. Wish him congratulations on Facebook. Maybe send him a nice message, something like that. You can check us out again on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure you leave a post, a comment, wishing Brandon well, and we'll make sure he gets it. But for now, I'm Patrick, and I'm saying goodbye.
Jim, have a nerdy week.
I'm Chase, and sorry for insulting anyone out there, old people.
No worries, Chase. Sorry.
They're going to yell at me when this is done recording, everyone. I'm just going to let you know. They're about to, it's going to be bad.
You're fired!
Anyway, thanks for listening.